welcome to Dr. Amber Thornton's Know and Grow podcast, where you're never alone in navigating life's biggest moments and toughest lessons. Join me, Dr. Amber Thornton, clinical psychologist, mother of two, as I explore motherhood, parenting, relationships, career, mental health, and the ongoing journey of personal evolution. No, it doesn't stop. These conversations will absolutely make you laugh, may make you cry, will get you to reflect, but more importantly, you'll grow and we'll get to grow together. So I'm glad you're here and I hope that you'll come back. Tune in weekly for informative, thought-provoking, inspiring conversations right here with me. Hey, it's another episode of Dr. Amber's Know and Grow podcast. I hope that you are doing well. It's so good to see you all again and to talk with you all again. I have so been enjoying this process of this podcast. It literally, I kid you not, I'm not even joking. If you're on YouTube, I hope you can see it in my face. Like, it literally is one of my favorite parts of the week now. I usually record every Tuesday morning. After getting ready for work, right before I get my kids ready for school. And it's literally just, I love it. I love this time of day. I love this time of my week. And then throughout the rest of the week, I get to edit and make sure that the episode is okay. And then you all get to hear it. So thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. This week, I think is going to be really special on the podcast, this episode. I'm really excited about it because we're going to do a few things today. First, we're going to start off with our astrology segment, which I'll do in a little bit, but I want to give you a preview of what the rest of this episode is going to be. Today, I am finally sharing with you an excerpt from my new book, A Parent's Guide to Self-Regulation, and I will be reading the introduction of the book to you here on the podcast. So if you have been curious about the book, if you've been wondering if it's for you, I think from hearing this introduction, you will decide whether this book is for you. And I suspect that it will be for you. So I hope that you enjoy it. But before we get into that, let's talk about astrology. So, okay. So there were two different things that I wanted to talk about for this segment today, but I'm going to hold off on one of them. And I want to talk about this other one. Because the feedback that I have been getting from many of you all when it comes to astrology and these segments is, I'm interested, but I'm still confused. Or I'm interested, but there's still so much more that I don't know, right? And the one thing that I keep hearing from you all and also people in my life is that the one thing that they are kind of stuck on is the houses. So they're like, I got the signs. I kind of understand, my big three, the top three, whatever you want to call it. I know my sun sign, my moon sign, my rising sign. And if you don't know that, y'all, please go figure that stuff out. That's going to be helpful for you. But I'm still confused about the houses. So what I figured we could do is in the coming weeks of the podcast, we'll just spend a little time in this segment talking about the houses so y'all can finally understand them. Because what is astrology without understanding the birth chart in the houses? You gotta know the houses. So that's what we'll do. And so with this segment, I want it to be fun. It's fun for me. It's fun for you all. And of course, you all know I'm a learner at heart. I'm always trying to learn. So I hope that this can help you learn a little bit and further your journey in astrology is just like I'm furthering mine. So I guess maybe this can be like the introduction of a mini series on astrological houses. That's what we'll do. And so today we won't cover all of them, but I just wanted to preview that for you. In the coming weeks, we will go through all of the houses and we'll talk about what each ones mean and what you should be considering and how to even think about your birth chart and the 12 houses that are in it and what that means for you, what that means for the signs, the planets. We'll get into all of that in the coming weeks. We'll do a series on houses. But for today, what I want you to know is this. Everyone has a birth chart. Your birth chart is made up of 12 houses. And within those houses, you have your sign placements and you also have planets. There are also other like comets and asteroids, things like that, but that's later. The only one that I really know about is Chiron. But everybody has a birth chart. Everybody has their own unique house placements, and it's important for you to know what they are. Because again, astrology is so much more than just your sun sign. So there are 12 houses. Each house is associated with one sign, and everybody's is unique. And then everybody has all of the planets intermingled in your birth chart somewhere. So, fun fact, this is actually about my brother's chart. I don't think he, honestly, I don't even think he knows about this. I know his chart way more than he does. He doesn't know. One thing about my brother's birth chart, literally almost all of his planets are in his fourth house, which is scary. Very scary. So I'm gonna have to talk about him. I'm gonna have a talk with him one day about that. If I showed you his chart, you would be like, "Whoa!" Like everything is condensed into this one house. But other people have their planets scattered throughout all of the houses, right? It really just depends. A lot of my houses are kind of on the upper part of my birth chart. So, like, I don't have a ton of planets in like my second, third, fourth house, but I do have a lot of planets in my eighth, ninth, 10th, 11th house up there. So, we'll talk about what all that means. So, all I want you to know is if you are confused about houses, stay tuned because we will talk about houses. And in the meantime, this is what I want you to do so you'll understand what I'm saying. Go to the Pattern app. You could go to Astro King. Go to some site, some service, some website. Get your birth chart so that when we start talking about these houses, you'll see exactly what I mean. Okay, I'm excited for this segment. Stay tuned. So, today I have the pleasure of sharing with you an excerpt from my new book, A Parent's Guide to Self Regulation, a practical framework for breaking the cycle of dysregulation and mastering emotions for parents and children. This is such a special book for me, such a special project that I've been able to work on since the middle of last year for a few reasons. One, because it's my first book, of course. So the first one is always special, right? But also, it's been very special and personal to me as well, because as you all know from what I've shared online, this journey of thinking through what it means to be a parent who is also self-regulating properly and not dysregulated, that was personal for me because that was always my challenge as a new mom. And so this book has allowed me to take myself on a journey of really recognizing that I had some issues when it come to self-regulation. I had very big issues with dysregulation. I was often overwhelmed, overstimulated, and didn't really know what to do about it. And the result was me often being a parent that I did not want to be. It was me yelling. It was me snapping. It was me being very short and impatient, and me not being very present, me being very withdrawn, me being irritable and grumpy, and just not who I imagine myself to be when I think about who I am as a mom, especially a mom to these two amazing kids that I have. And so this book took me on a journey personally. And now I'm so excited to be able to share it with you. You know, you as someone who is also a parent and who maybe have had your moments where you are just extremely overwhelmed, extremely overstimulated, touched out, burnt out, dysregulated. And you may not even be using that word dysregulated, but really you're just in a place where you are having trouble managing yourself, your feelings, the things around you, the things in your home, and it's leading you to not be the parent you want to be. This book is for you. I wrote it with you in mind because I was you. And today I want to share the introduction of the book with you. So I am reading from my phone. I'm going to read it to you all. So sit back, take a sip of tea, coffee, whatever it is. I want to introduce this book to you. And of course, if you like this introduction, my hope is that you will go ahead and pre order your copy of A Parent's Guide to Self Regulation, a practical framework for breaking the cycle of dysregulation and mastering emotions for parents and children. Okay, are we ready? Let's do it. I'm so sick of this shit, the woman yelled. By now, her partner knew that this was code for I need a break. At this point, the woman knew she was yelling, but could no longer control it. She marched up the stairs, the pace of her breath faster than ever. By now, her partner had already come to the rescue, consoling the child with a hug and beginning to clean up the mess that was made. Within minutes, the chaotic moment that had just led to her losing every ounce of her cool was cleaned up, and everyone had moved on to the next thing, except for her. I'm so over this. I can't keep doing this, the woman cried while looking at herself in the bathroom mirror. It was at that moment that she realized, yet again, she had yelled at her child. Just the week before, she had apologized and promised that this wasn't going to keep happening. I'm so sorry for yelling. Mommy got frustrated, and I should not have yelled, she said after snapping when he had spilled the milk for the third time that day. It's okay, Mommy. Accidents happen, her child replied, because they watched Daniel Tiger's Neighborhood together and they've learned that accidents can happen to anyone. Apparently, these child-friendly lessons can also apply to parents. Next time you can take a deep breath just like this. He proceeded to offer examples of how to take deep breaths in his tiny toddler chest moving up and down. I will, baby, she said. They had closed the agreement with a big hug, plus more milk and graham crackers to share. How could this keep happening? She wondered to herself. It was starting to feel like no matter how hard she tried, she could never stop yelling. She knew that becoming a parent was hard, but surely not everyone was constantly losing it like this. Her mind raced as she tried to retrace the moments leading up to today's big blow up. The following week, she relayed the story to her therapist. I was in the kitchen, trying to get lunch together for the kids. My son asked to go to the bathroom. So I said, okay. I knew he was probably playing in the bathroom because he always does and was taking so long. But I didn't bother trying to investigate or check in on him because it gave me more time to finish up the lunches. All of a sudden, I heard this water splashing and something falling onto the floor. I was pretty sure he was safe, but just knew he wasn't doing something he should have been doing. She sighed deeply as she continued to tell the story with her therapist listening intently. I finally walked into the bathroom and oh my gosh, I just remember getting so mad. What was it that made you so upset and so quickly? The therapist asked, seeking clarification for what exactly had transpired with her client that day. He was playing with the plunger. Her face held a look of deep disgust at the image of a plunger in her child's tiny hands resurfaced. I immediately started yelling, "What are you doing? Why are you messing with that?" I had lost it. I was so upset, I didn't even take the time to listen or really hear the answer for what he was doing or why. I just knew I didn't like it and I couldn't take it. It sounds like this wasn't the first straw, but rather the final one, the therapist said. She looked up at her therapist with confusion on her face and said, "What do you mean?" Her therapist replied, "Well, in your story, you said you got upset so quickly. And often that happens when our coping capacity has already been drained in some way." Instantly, it felt like a light bulb had gone off, and she started naming all the situations, circumstances, conditions, or feelings that had drained her capacity to cope that same day. It dawned on her that she wasn't just upset about the plunger, but rather she was irritated by the dog barking, stressed that they were almost out of pull ups, bothered by the volume of the television being too loud, wondering why both TV sets and tablets were playing at the same time, was in pain because of a recent ankle injury, had not yet had her morning tea, felt touched out because her 2-year-old was a little extra clingy lately. She could still smell the burnt popcorn from yesterday in the trash, was concerned that she wasn't able to take her daily walk, and was still exhausted from the long week of no sleep because of toddler sleep regressions. It wasn't just the plunger. It was literally everything else in that moment, she explained to her partner that evening. The therapist said I probably was dysregulated, and that's something I can work on. It may be no surprise to you that as a clinical psychologist who's working with parents and families for nearly 15 years now, I often have conversations with my own clients that are very similar to the one that this therapist had within that story today. I've been able to identify signs and symptoms of emotional and physiological dysregulation in parents for some time now, and helping them to learn that blowups always involve way more than what's on the surface. It is so much more than just the plunger, and often about all the other ways that our ability to cope has been degraded in any given moment. This leads to dysregulation and a host of other problems that interfere with our desire to parent from a kind, loving, gentle, and nurturing manner. No, it probably doesn't surprise you to know that I've supported parents with becoming more regulated and present, but this may surprise you. I am that parent. Despite my doctorate level training in clinical psychology and years of expertise in supporting children and family, I have still been that parent who becomes dysregulated to the point of yelling uncontrollably at my child. I can relate to this woman's story because her story is mine. You may be wondering why I'm willing to be so transparent and share my own personal struggle as I attempt to help you. The answer is this: all of us tend to accept help and support more easily when we know that the other person genuinely understands. We are able to get vulnerable and share all the mess when we know that the other person has been in the mess too. I am standing here with you and letting you know that I genuinely understand the challenges you've had with becoming dysregulated and even turning into someone you are not proud of. I am here with you, ready to get vulnerable and be in the mess. I have been absolutely in the deep end, and I know that there is a way out. So, are you ready to take a journey with me? I realize that every parent is different. And while my unique struggle has been yelling when I'm dysregulated, I know that that may not be your challenge. It could be that you distance yourself and you shut down when you're dysregulated. Maybe you zone out into the depths of your phone, scrolling social media for hours at a time, all to keep from having to engage with what may feel like the chaos around you. Maybe you become really irritable when you're dysregulated, or what some may call having an attitude. It's possible that for years you've been presented with irritability to others and it's been misinterpreted as you being mean, harsher, uninviting, while the truth has just been you're overwhelmed, you're anxious, you're overstimulated, and plain old dysregulated. It's also quite possible that dysregulation for you looks like people pleasing, overworking, and completely forgetting about your own needs. You forget about yourself so that you're able to care for the needs of everyone around you and so you can handle everything happening around you. Maybe dysregulation means you dig yourself deeper into the hole of all the things as you attempt to get it all done so you can finally feel better. Whatever your advice may be when it comes to being dysregulated while parenting, my hope is that you see yourself in this book. And I hope that by the end of reading these words, you are certain that you aren't the only parent who has struggled with being so dysregulated that you can barely recognize yourself. I also hope that by the end of this book, you and so many other parents will receive everything you need to go from dysregulated to self regulated on a much more frequent basis. Truth is, I understand exactly what you desire when it comes to being a parent. I understand it because most parents have the exact same desire. It is to be the very best parent you can be. No, that doesn't mean perfect. Rather, it means cultivating experiences for your child that allow for optimal social, emotional, and physical development for their lives. You want to parent in ways that help you to get and stay connected with your children for years to come, even after they become adults. You want to be able to look back on all the hard years that have passed and say, I did a damn good job. This book will help you get there. So let me share with you exactly how. You're almost finished with the introduction, and by now you're probably, hopefully, you can see yourself in this book and feel confident that these concepts will support you. Part one of this book is all about getting you acquainted with the concepts of dysregulation and self regulation. Here are some other things you'll learn in part one: an understanding of dysregulation and self regulation, the various forms of dysregulation that can exist and coexist within your body, 8 key reasons why self regulation is so hard for parents to achieve, in exploration, comparing and contrasting, trending parenting approaches, and ways that dysregulation makes these approaches feel impossible, a review of past parenting practices and how dysregulation was likely at the core of several of them. Yikes. Myths that exist in our society, keeping us dysregulated as parents, the 4 moments of the day where parents find themselves the most dysregulated and what to do about it. And then also a conversation about what it means to reparent yourself, realizing that your struggles with daily dysregulation likely existed before you became a parent and probably began in your childhood. Part 2 of this book will dive deep into an independent research study that I conducted with parents just like you. These parents agreed to share information about their daily lives, family routines, coping skills, and most dysregulated moments. The best part is that they have also allowed me to share it all with you in part 2. This part will outline the aim, purpose, method, results, and conclusion of the research study conducted with parents about dysregulation. Feature parents dialogue and discussion, discussing highlights, the highs and the lows of dysregulated parenting, as well as opportunities for how these parents may achieve self regulation. Officially identify common themes, trends, and patterns in the experiences of dysregulated parents, and where to begin when it comes to taking action towards a more self regulated approach. Finally, part 3 of this book is likely why you decided to buy this book, because it will provide you with the exact method for how to go from dysregulated to self regulated as a parent. Part 3 will introduce the PCR method, practical, conscious, and realistic, for dysregulated parents. This is the very method that helped me to finally break the cycles of dysregulation that has led to one too many yelling uncontrollably at my children. I'm excited about the PCR method because it includes the most simple, accessible, and realistic strategies you can implement into your life and with your family almost immediately. Each strategy will be reviewed in depth in part 3 with examples for how you can incorporate it into your already busy or full life. So, are you ready? I'm excited to go on this journey with you, and I cannot wait until you get to feel what it feels like to go from dysregulated to self regulated. I know it's possible for you, and I'm cheering you on at every step of the way. So, let's begin. Okay. So I hope that you enjoyed that excerpt from the new book, A Parent's Guide to Self-Regulation. That was the introduction of the book. If you enjoyed it, please, please, please head to the link in my bio and go ahead and pre-order your copy, because the introduction, I don't know about you, but the introduction feels so full. You can already get a feel for the tone of the book, the mood, the vibe, but also all the amazing things that will help you with the book. So I hope you enjoyed it. Also, let me know in the comments what you think. Shoot me a DM, leave me a podcast review talking about your experience of listening to this introduction of the book. But of course, don't forget to pre-order your copy. So now I am shuffling my deck because I definitely feel like we need to pull an affirmation card, um, just to, I don't know, solidify what we just did. I just feel like that was so powerful. Especially for me, I think that I have spent so much time in the past year thinking about this book, writing this book. Um, it's been like a big part of my internal process. And so to finally be putting it out in the world feels a little scary, but I know that we are going in the right direction, and this is a really good thing. So shuffling the deck, because I want to know what affirmation will be good for us as we carry on through the process of our day, after having listened to and shared the introduction with you all. Okay, let's see. Actually, this one's feeling good. Ooh, okay. So this one says, I am so grateful to be alive, healthy, and thriving. I am so grateful to be alive, healthy, and thriving. I agree. I feel that way too. I am so grateful to be alive, healthy, and thriving. And I say that because I wouldn't be able to be doing what I'm doing here with you if I weren't alive, healthy, and thriving. Because the process of writing a book, the process of creating, honestly, even the process of parenting really does require you to show up in a way that is healthy and alive, and ideally you need to be thriving to create and maintain such beautiful things in your life. So again, whether it is a project you're working on, whether it is a book that you are writing, whether it is parenting your children so that they can become amazing, awesome humans who are also emotionally in tune and confident and intelligent, that all requires us to show up as our best selves. And I hope that you are able to do that today. I hope that you feel like you have been able to do that. And if you feel like you haven't, guess what? We get to start anew. And I hope that this podcast helps you with that. But I also hope that the book will help you with that as well. So I'm going to read this affirmation one more time before we close. I am so grateful to be alive, healthy, and thriving. I hope y'all have a great week, and we will talk soon. Thank you so much for listening to Dr. Amber's Know and Grow podcast. I love that you're here. I love that we're learning together. We're growing together. We're navigating all these things together. We're really in this together. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please leave me a 5-star rating and review. That is so important because it helps this podcast grow. And it also gives me some feedback on how it's landing for you. Please share this podcast with someone that you love or someone that you know. And don't forget to connect with me on social media at Dr. Amber Thornton. I'll talk to you soon.